Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Filmmakers Forum. For those who are joining us for the first time, the Filmmakers Forum is an activity of the School of Media and Communication of the Pan-Atlantic University. It's an activity intended to foster interaction amongst the practitioners of the industry and, of course, all those who are interested in the industry. Let me thank very much Mrs Uche Nwuka for joining us today. We hope it's going to be a very fruitful discussion this morning. Now, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box and we will take them as we go along. So once again, I welcome Mrs Uche Nwuka. Mrs Uche Nwuka is an Assistant General Manager at the Bank of Industry, and she's the head of the Creative Industry Group. She has been one of the drivers of the Bank of Industry's engagement with the creative industries in general and the film industry in particular. Mrs. Nwuka pioneered the Creative Industry Department or Creative Industry Group at the Bank of Industry and has overseen major projects of the bank aimed at the creative industries. Among other projects, she supervised the development and successful implementation of the bank's first non-asset-based collateral arrangement for a major cinema project. Mrs. Nwuka has a vast banking experience. It spans over 2 decades. She's a graduate of the University of Benin and holds a BSc in Economics and Statistics. She also holds an MBA from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, with majors in banking and finance. She has previously headed the Treasury and International Operations Division of the Bank of Industry and also supervised the Gender, Business and Multilateral Relationship Department, where she managed the African Growth and Opportunities Act Office. She previously headed the Credit Risk Division of the bank as a principal manager. You will agree with me that we have someone who is truly well positioned to talk to us about funding for the film industry, which is our topic for today. Like we know, funding has always been a challenge for the Nigerian film industry, and the BOI has intervened in various ways to try to deal with this issue. The BOI was involved with the $200 million entertainment fund that the federal government announced for the entertainment industry. And then subsequently, the Bank of Industry introduced the 1 billion naira Nolly Fund. So, well, these are some of the things we're going to be talking about. So, Uche, you are most welcome once again. Let's get the ball rolling. Now, you are a pioneer. Thank you, Jay. You're a pioneer of the Creative Industries Group there in the Bank of Industries. The BOI set up this group in 2011. And like I said, you were at the forefront of all of this. And you have been driving the bank's engagement with the creative industries. Can you tell us what is the driving policy of this engagement?
Yeah, in a very simple summary, I will say the driving policy is to ensure that we contribute to the development of the creative industry, knowing the impacts of this sector in job creation, in wealth creation, and also in projecting the country outside within the global space. So those are, in summary, the driving force that had been a key factor for us in the creative industry and in Bank of Industry.
Now, in the, 10 years of operation of this group, the Creative Industries Group, what would you say have been the main achievements? That's a tough one, right?
That's a tough one, but it's very interesting because for me, where do I start from? If I have to look at the figures, it would be very interesting to let us know that presently in the creative industry, we've been able to approve over 155 billion to projects in the creative industry. That's a great achievement. And for this short period, we have successfully liquidated, 25 projects. That's a great achievement in the industry, giving out loan and ensuring that these loans are repaid in record time. Presently, our risk assets position is about 84 billion. And I have deep flows of close to 30 billion being appraised now. So that was why it was a thing of where do I start from in the industry? We have grown, we are growing, and we think we'll do better than what we are now. Presently, our NPL in the industry is less than 2%.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Uche. You're using bankers' terms here for we laymen who do not have a
non-performing
clue.
loan.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing me back. Thank you. A non-performing loan position in the creative industry is less than 2%. I feel so happy when I go through my reports every day. And even when I face challenges, I tell myself, see what the figures are showing you. So just brace it and change those challenges to another factor that will affect the bottom line.
Now, what you just said now is very interesting. Non-performing loans less than 2%. How is this, or why is this? Because I know that the complaint that many banks have put forward in the past has been precisely this, that those who have ventured into the industry have come away with their fingers bent. So how have you been able to manage such that you have kept this percentage so low?
We started rightly by working with those in the industry. We knew that we knew nothing. Interestingly, somebody that I was moved to study creative industry. I didn't study theater art, like I told them. I didn't have any background, but what we did was to start with the industry people. We started learning. And the partnership with British Council was also another added advantage for us. So collaborations and partnerships helped us to understand the industry. Then the mapping of the industry also supported the growth pattern we tried to achieve, looking at the low-hanging fruits and looking at how, especially content, can drive every other segment within the industry. So that was how we started. And interestingly, that had led us to the amiable position that we are now.
You said something about, or not something, you said that you have your project risk asset position is 85 billion. Can you explain to that? What exactly do you mean? I mean,
it means that presently I have disbursed to various projects an amount totaling about 85 billion.
Okay.
So these projects are enjoying this facility from Bank of Industry under the Creative Industry Group.
What kind of projects are these? I know that in the past you have spoken about the support you have rendered to film production, but that's not the only thing, because you have also spoken about the contributing to the development of a cinema chain. So when you speak about these projects under this 85 billion, what kind of projects are you talking about?
Okay, these projects are cut across the following segments: content production. And under content production, we look at the film, we look at even stage drama, we look at music. Distribution infrastructure, including the cinemas. Production infrastructure, that is the studios, media and publishing, hospitality and culinary, recreational centers and integrated parks, then entertainment arenas. So our funding has been spread across almost all the segments as mapped out when we started to understand the industry.
Given that the audience here is likely from the film industry, is it possible to let us know of this amount, what percentage really has come or has the film industry benefited from?
I won't look at it as film, I will look at it as content. Yeah, for content, we have approval of above approximately 5.5 billion.
Right.
We've disbursed 3.2 billion.
Okay. Now, it's looking at the numbers, looking at the figures, quite a lot has happened. But talking to people generally in the industry, one does not get that sense that people are feeling this impact quite as much. Is this also your view? Do you see that across board? Do you feel that your impact has been felt as much as these figures really should indicate?
Truly, I feel that we've not been able to reach out to so many people. We're trying, but at times I ask myself, what next should I do? What next should we do? Yes, we need to do more. We need to be able to engage more. And that's why when I have the opportunity to actually meet with those in the industry, I don't miss it. So we're trying as much as possible. We're engaging. We're also asking questions to find out what we can do more.
Okay. Now, what you said, yes, shows a lot of openness. Well, and I know you as well as passing, and I know how open you are. What would you suggest? Because now we're speaking to people here from the film industry, and I'm sure many of them would like to know if they wanted to approach you, if they wanted to at least come up with suggestions, how can they do this?
Most of them know how to reach me. When you call or you come to my office, we can meet at any time. I'm available. I like interacting. So telephone calls, emails, meetings, I'm ready to engage on any issue in the creative industry. I'm also working on some special products to support content production. Like I always tell people, content will help push every other aspect, every other segment within the creative industry. Because one way or the other, you see producers using other segments within the creative industry for their production. So that's the beauty. That's what I like. That's what I like in productions. Because I could see other businesses that I've supported or other businesses within the creative industry being patronized, being part of the production process. So presently, I'm working on special products that I could present to management to support content production, those in the film segment, those in the series segments, and other segments we can look at. But I'm looking at two major special funding schemes that I could use to actually boost what we've done. We've supported projects in the past. 1 billion has been disbursed, but that was then. So what will I do in 2022? That's the focus for me now. And I'm actually willing and ready to engage further because I don't want to create a product that will not sell. if these products are not assessed, I wouldn't have figures to present to you when you invite me again. And I wouldn't want to come again to say I've created 1 billion Nolly fund. That has been taken, that's enough for me. I need another story that I could tell about the creative industry. Thank you very much.
Now, if it is not letting the cat out of the bag too early, is it possible for us to have some idea of this new product that you see you're trying to put in place?
No, not for now. I've just gone to the market to buy ingredients.
The soup has not been cooked yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I have a question here from Tony, who's asking, what structure does BOI have to support or develop new projects? To what extent does BOI invest in research and development as opposed to supporting projects or entities that are already formed and thriving?
Very long question, but I will just look at it. For every product we actually introduce in creative industry, we didn't work alone. We engaged professionals in the industry. We also engaged some professionals to also advise us on what could sell and the criteria we should use for such products. So we don't work alone within, we invest in research and information gathering.
Okay. Now, the BOI was involved in the disbursement of the entertainment fund that the federal government announced in 2010. And many people have questioned whether that initiative ever had an impact. Can you talk to us about that?
BOI was not involved in the disbursements.
Okay.
We've been funding those in the creative industry from BOI's fund.
Okay.
So that special fund was not part of what BOI worked with.
Okay, so you were not involved at all?
No.
With that fund in any way? Okay, well, because there's some misinformation out there. Okay, now, apart from, one of the issues that the filmmakers have often complained about is that the financial institutions insist on asset-based collaterals when they want to take loans and so on. And I know that you have introduced non-asset-based collaterals. So if we, as filmmakers, want to come to you now for loans, to tap into these products that you have, what kind of things would you be demanding from us? What will be the structure of the approach?
Yeah, we've done a collateral funding. We have collateral-based, asset-based funding. We had also introduced non-asset-based funding. The Nolly Fund was not secured by the formal banking collaterals. So presently, what we do is to have special products. Like I said, we're already working on one. I don't know what the collateral will be until I have approval for that. But it's to let you know that yes, we collect collateral, but we had products where we did not collect any form of collateral.
So in that case, if you have a product where you don't collect collateral, how do you guarantee that you get your money back? Especially given the fact that you have managed to keep the non-performing loans at less than 2%.
Yeah, that was the non-performing loan of less than 2%. That aspect that is not performing came from content, and it came from the content that were not collateralized.
So in that case, exactly. Yeah. In that case, it's a bit of a risk for you.
Serious risks, but I'll tell you, I've also learned my lessons. We've also reviewed what led to that. And I know for those customers owing, they've also reviewed and found out where they went wrong. So lessons learned, what are we going to do differently? We can't say that we've been beaten, so we shouldn't go through that hog again. I still believe we can have non-collateralized products to support those in the industry, especially producers. But in my thoughts, we have to also think of how to ensure we ring-fence and have real tight flow of our production process.
I don't know if we can share in the lessons you say you have learned, because I think for those who perhaps may want to approach you for assistance, they may also want to know what kind of things to watch out for. Is it possible to let us know what the points of failure were for those who took loans for content production and failed? I know that many of us will instinctively say it's a problem of a lack of distribution structure. That's what some of us will instinctively say. I don't know. So, but what exactly were the points you could say that didn't work?
Okay, I will start with the first one. To me, perception. Some of them felt that it was government money. Remember, when we started, it was the then government that announced that they were ready to support the creative industry. So when BOI started, and BOI being a government-owned bank, that thought also was misinterpreted by some of them. So perception was it. They were coming for government loan. There was grants also being given through the Ministry of Finance. Some of them also got the grant. But interestingly, we still had customers that received the grant and they came to BOI and disclosed fully. We still had, I wouldn't want to mention name. I could remember one of them. I've also seen him on this platform. He's logged in here. He brought the statement to show that he received this amount from federal government for the grant, and he needed to fund the gap. That was good disclosure and character issue for me, knowing the factors of lending, the 5 C's of lending. So it was a very good one. So perception played so much on some of the producers we had then. Then another thing is understanding the business of production. Yes, we had a product paper, we had a flow, you produce, we give to the distribution company, and they take to the cinema first. After the cinema, they look at other platforms. So some of these producers just went, produced, and to them, distribution companies should be the one handling every other thing, and they should be able to recover the money. But we've all learned our lessons from the distribution side and from the producer side, because the distribution companies also took this content straight to the cinema without also adding significant value.
Right.
So all these things are what I'm also reviewing in the next product paper I'm trying to present to management for approval. We must all come together to work as a formidable team, having success as the focus, not the immediate monetary benefit we are going to get. If we look at when we succeed, what the big pot will look like, and we know that in that pot, we get a bigger share. So when we get that funding, we shouldn't look at what we can get immediately, but we should be looking at the success. So that's understanding the business of this production, production, and knowing that we must look at the focus of generating funds from it, commercializing it rightly. Then another third one was the case of diversion for some of them. I would say for some of them, the funding they got, they did not use the fund fully for the production. Then for the product itself, there was another major lesson we also learned: the partnership with the studios. If we're going to have another product non-collateralized, the studios will come in as partners. They will not earn anything upfront, because that was another gap that was not totally an advantage to the product paper. So this could be my summary for now.
Now, that last point is an interesting one. You say the production companies should come in as partners. What will that, now these are the production companies who are making the films for which the loan has been taken. Did I get that right?
No, giving out the equipment.
Okay, so these are the ones who rent out the equipment and so on. Okay. Now, when you say that they will not make anything, will it be attractive to them if they're not going to really gain, except perhaps what they're gaining is just the amount that will be paid for renting the equipment?
No, let me work on the product first, and we can bring out the product paper to critique later.
Oh, okay. So this is okay. Fine. This is still work in progress.
I'm still working. It's work in progress. Okay. Yes.
Now you put it very delicately, I must say, when you said that there was some diversion of funds. That was a very delicate way of saying that, well, people abused the funds that they were given. Do you have a way, for instance, because this is abuse of contract, if I understand that correctly, if you give money to somebody for something and the person doesn't use it for what he was given for, is there a way in which, well, you can protect yourself, protect the bank in that kind of situation, or is it just, it happens and then that's it, nothing can be done?
Yeah, these are lessons from what we've done in the past. So going forward, if we allow it to happen again, that means we didn't track it.
Okay.
And then from the lessons learned, I also compared what is happening now, what they are getting from some other platforms to produce content for them.
Right.
And when I watch such films and compare what they got from BOI and from what they're getting from other platforms to produce films, it supports the initial information we gathered about the diversion. But like I said, it happened in the first product. If I'm not able to check it or mitigate it from happening again in the second one, then becomes an issue.
The point you made about the need for a better understanding of the business knowledge is an interesting one. And it's one that many people have always stressed, that there is a need for the filmmakers also to realize that filmmaking is a business and they need to follow the same process. Now, this ties into a question which Usman has asked, because clearly it's one thing to say that I'm an artist, but I also need to be formed in terms of, well, the business aspect of things. And then Usman is asking, can BOI not sponsor or organize maybe a quarterly film master class for young and inspiring filmmakers, and then hand them grants to work and guide them through the grant and the projects? So Usman's question here, I think, is that needs to educate people on how to manage things. Is this something that the BOI has considered?
We've been doing this in the past. We've done this with other partners, and this is the way to go. So once we have that opportunity again, that's something we'll continue to do.
Okay. Then I have a question from Victor. Victor says, as a young filmmaker, I would like to know if there are accessible grants or loans readily available and accessible.
For loan, yes, 100%. And very accessible. But however, For the present loan I have, they are all collateralized.
Just to help Victor out a little here, when you say they're collateralized, what kind of collaterals do you look for, or do these loans require?
Legal mortgage or bank guarantee.
Okay, thank you very much, Uche. Now, apart from giving direct loans, are there other ways in which the BOI can support the film industry? You mentioned a moment ago the kind of classes you give as a way of contributing to that development. Are there other ways that you would say the bank is also contributing to the development of the industry?
Yeah, we've been supporting programs, we've been supporting activities when we receive such, what's it called, applications from those in the industry. So BOI have been supporting even the government, other arms of government agencies within the industry. We tend to support their activities too.
What kind of activities are these? This is for the rest of us so that we can also come to you for such
it has to do with
what
any,
kind of
any impactful creative industry activity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What will guide you in deciding to support such activities?
The content and the reach. Yes. We look at the content, we look at the reach. We are very interested about the upcoming ones.
Okay.
Yeah. We also look at the benefits to the country. Yeah.
Okay, great. Now I have a question from Lekan, who says, in funding tangible assets, we do have valuation or feasibility and viability studies. Do you have the same?
Yeah, we do. Your business plans. Yeah. It's part of the documentation requirements for producers. We want to know your business plan, and that's where you have all this information.
Let me develop this line a little bit. Now, this is really to know if one wants to approach BOI for a loan, what requirements, what should someone come with? You have just mentioned now the business plan. What else should one bring?
I will just give you this. I will just try to break it down.
Please.
First of all, you must have a registered company. And if you have the registered company in Nigeria, there are other requirements in the checklist that we need concerning the company itself. Then as the producer, you also give us the synopsis that you've developed, the script, the full budget plan, your business plan. Then you also let us know the partners you intend to work with on the project. We had 2 funding schemes before we exhausted the non-collateralized one. So the collateralized one, you have to let us know the collateral you're willing to present to support the loan. In summary, that's what it is.
Now, if I have to present a collateral, the value of that collateral should have some relevance to the amount I'm asking for, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm speaking as a non-banker here, so you
no,
if I demonstrate ignorance. Okay, I have a question from Greg. Greg says, it is becoming increasingly difficult to get bank guarantees from the commercial banks for the BOI loans.
Yeah.
The major reason is that they're not making money from the transactions.
Yeah.
What is your plan to mitigate this trend and make it easier for people to access the loans?
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a fact. It's becoming very difficult, but it's not just because they're not getting any benefit from it. When this issue was brought up, what we did as a bank is to also give up 1% from the interest to the bank.
Right.
knowing that the commercial bank will also charge for the bank guarantee, which is a promissory note, just a legal document. So BOI gave up 1% that will pay directly to the commercial banks. Remember, they also stand to enjoy the float from the transaction. You open accounts with the same commercial bank. Every proceed from the business will go to that account. They have the access to reinvest the fund, because idle funds are not left idle in the bank. They can place it overnight. What we get thereafter, after disbursing the loan, is monthly payment based on the bill. Or another benefit to that is that most of these banks, we have BOI accounts with them. So the funds still remain with them. They are paying the monthly due obligation, and they're just transferring it to BOI's accounts with them.
Right.
But yes, there's a challenge, and internally we are working hard and discussing with these bankers to see how we can build the relationship. And it is just about supporting the industry. It's not just Bank of Industry as a bank. And interestingly, if we don't have good books, it will be difficult for the bank to access funds outside this country. We are able to get funding because we are able to show this non-performing position. So what he said is true. We're looking into it. We've given out 1%. Some of them are saying 1% is not enough. And internally, we're trying to come up with another way we can strengthen this relationship.
Is there a reason really of why the commercial banks really have not come more on board in terms of the development of the industry or the funding of the industry? Because this conversation about funding from the banks and the challenges is one that has gone on for so long. We've been talking about this now for, I don't know, upwards of 10, 20 years. And there does not really seem to be any movement or progress in developing a structure that works. I don't know, is this something you are in a position to talk about?
I can talk about Bank of Industry.
No, but I will challenge you on that one, because at Bank of Industry, you are a developmental bank.
Yeah.
So that since you are going to develop the industry,
so you already know.
You should also have a role with the other banks.
No, we can't. You know that we can't. Those other banks are privately owned.
Right.
Profit is the focus. Yeah. So every risk will be mitigated. Yeah. So we can't have any role. Yeah. It's only CBN that can interfere.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me take you to another question from Tony, who says, I'm sorry to beat this point on new content. The conversation so far has been around content that can generate profit. Does BOI support experimental work, knowing well ahead that the content is never going to make final gains, but instead will advance aesthetic and perhaps cultural values?
Well, that's another aspect of sponsorship. Like I said, we look at the content and look at the impact. We've done that in the past. We've supported projects like that in the past through sponsorship. It may not be 100% support. We give our own, what's called, contribution.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me take a question here from, I'm sorry. Oh, quite a few questions have come in now. A question from Akinyele, who's asking whether the BOI Nolly Fund is still on.
No, fully utilized now. Like I said, we're preparing a new products.
And then Esther, when you say business plan, do you mean business plan for the project, or business plan for the entire business?
For the projects. But remember, if you're discussing the project, the entire business focus should also be part of it.
Okay. I have a question from Adida Mola, which is in reference to something else. I'm afraid I'm a little lost here. Adida Mola, I will ask you, please type out the full question because I missed the reference. It says, so how does that make the loans more accessible? I don't know what the reference is. So if you can please just add what the reference is so that we can have that clearer. Now, Lekon is asking, can the project or film be self-collateralized?
The film itself?
Yes, that one offers the film as collateral, the film that's going to be made.
The film is not yours when we give you the loan. So you can't give us our content as collateral.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
That's a
what you have is a script, and we give you funding to produce the film. So it's not yours. But we'll have a lien on it until you pay the full loan.
Okay. Actually, this is a point that is often raised where people say, well, why can't the copyright on that product be open to being collateral? Because since really there is a copyright on the product itself. Is it something that's never done anywhere, or is this just the position of the BOI?
Even what we've done in BOI and what we're doing has never been done anywhere. I've been opportuned to make presentations in different countries. And when we come out, they get so happy about BOI and Nigeria as a country, and especially those in the creative industry. When they see the figures and see what we've done, they respect the creative minds in Nigeria. So it's not, we're not looking at, has it been done in the world? How can we look at it as Nigerians and make it work? That's what I want to hear. How can we meet? I'm ready to discuss with any group. How can it make sense? Give me, I don't have all the information, so that when I get back to the office, I'm able to prove that this is doable. That was how Nolly Fund was created. It took professionals in the industry to first of all meet, and I met with them before we started. Nolly Fund was a baby of Gabuski. It was from Gabuski we started, got the name, started working, then internally preparing the criteria and everything. I started reaching out to so many people before we formed a team of advisory members. So let's not look at what has been done outside the country, because some of this information, if they give you the information and you try to reach out, you can't get where it's been done. Let's create our own. I'm happy that people are coming to us. German embassy came to us, French embassy, so many people have been reaching out to us, even from South Africa. We can be our own Nigerian creative industry with reference. We're already there, we're already doing it. Look at the production. Yes, the quantity and quality issue, but we're producing and we're improving on a daily basis. So we should look at all these factors that we think can be changed and see how we can work around it. Looking at taking the content as collateral. What of the issue of disbursing and the producer goes out to produce what you cannot present?
Right.
There are some content we have that you present them, somebody is telling you, no, we can't work with this. So how can it be a collateral? I can't be a banker and go to location. If I go to a location, the first location I visited was the production of Queen Amina in Jos. And when I got there and saw the heap of bottled water, already consumed empty content. I was like, how? I couldn't believe this. I couldn't, that was water heap alone. I couldn't believe what I saw. I decided to stay there with them the full day. And when I got back, I had total respect for producers in this country. When you're watching the content, you don't know what, but that was an eye-opener for me. I can still always, as I'm talking now, I can imagine what I saw there. And the stress level from the directors and even the producer that is owing the bank and also looking at the figures. So if we're able to build around integrity, that's character issue, build around having good business plan that when this content is produced, we already have an off-taker that will take up the content, and we already have a signed agreement that once this content is produced based on this specification, a Netflix or an Amazon will take up the content and pay this BOI, X, Y, and Z. The content will become the collateral. Like I said, let me not let out a lot of information. I'll be meeting with the producers, both the ones we supported in the past, the new ones that are interested to work with us. But we've already started. It's just that the 2020 also reduced the speed. Yes. Yeah, I had met with those in the series in the segments. I'm already working on a paper for them too.
Okay, thank you very much, Uche. I have a question here from Craig. He says it's a follow-up question. So they were referring to the commercial banks, make a maximum of 2%, while BOI makes 8%. In case of default, the banks carry the burden alone. So is this fair? Besides, they cannot place the funds in their account as the customer will not accept that. I think he's referring to...
Okay, let me let you know.
Go ahead.
The 8% BOI is charging is not, how will I use the word now? It's not profit to BOI. We get fund at 8%. We disburse at the cost of lending. We don't put a spread because we're a development finance institution. So it's not the case of the commercial banks getting 2% and BOI getting 8%. The 8% is the cost of funds to BOI. Then the issue of the customer will not, the bank cannot use up the fund in the customer's accounts. Don't worry, that's treasury management, fund management. The fund in your account, your statement, the statement you receive is, you receive figures. They don't show you your cash in the vault. Have you ever received your cash in the vault from any bank, show you that this is the cash in the vault? No. So liquidity management, the treasury aspects, let's leave that. It will be invested. And they also have a percentage they could keep should you come to access your fund. So we're looking at the issue of strengthening the relationship with commercial banks, not for us to now, there's no risk. If we all believe in the risk factor, so that here comes the aspect of the entrepreneur, like the person that asked this question. If you're bringing a good content to produce and you're certain that this content will be sold and we have an off-taker that will take this content from you, that means we've tried as much as possible to mitigate the risk. The other side of it is when you're not able to pay, what happens? Yes, that's when the commercial bank aspects, the bank guarantee becomes active. But then I will also ask those in the content production that have given us that, how many of such projects have we called. We try to ensure that we avoid the aspect of getting to that position. So if we come together as a team to ensure that we're selling a product that will be able to pay the loan, it will be easy for us to look out of the aspect of who bears the risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Uche. Now, I think one thing that might help to contribute to the response you just gave now is perhaps to explain to us, how does the BOI get its own funds? Because it's not as if you have a warehouse of money somewhere. It's that you, in order to disburse funds, you have to also source for those funds.
Yeah.
And I suppose those are actually loans to BOI as well.
Yeah.
Or exactly. I think it would be useful to explain that. I mean, just to back up what you said about this 8%, it's not as if you are gaining something on top as well.
Yeah, we have different sources of raising loanable funds in BOI. Equity, but how much is our equity and how much is what is our risk aspect position as a bank? So that will not be enough to reach out or to be able to do what we are doing.
Right.
We also source funds from the federal government. And we also have intervention funds from the federal government to support projects. Another good source is also sourcing funds internally and in the global market to support projects in Nigeria. And all these funds, except that of equity, come with a cost. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Uche. Now, Godwin is asking, well, he says, thank you for this great information. I am a producer based in Sokoto. How readily available and accessible is this facility here in the core north for us in the industry?
Interestingly, COVID had shown us that you can work from anywhere and get business done. We were able to disburse some projects last year without us physically meeting with the chief promoters of the business. So saying far north is Nigeria. BOI was able to raise funds outside the shores of Nigeria last year without traveling. So we're accessible. If you're interested, please send an email to us. We'll take it up from there.
Well, the question of Adedamola is linked to this one of how to access, because he says, is all the information on how to get a loan on the BOI website?
I won't say all, but we have significant information there. But however, as we engage, we can also interact more and advise on any other information we need.
Okay. Then Adedamola also has another question. He's asking whether you would care to comment on what percentage of films funded by BOI have so far been profitable.
So far, I'll say for the profitable side, 25% of the Nolly Fund projects. But for all the projects collateralized under content, under film production, 100%.
Wow.
So you can see the issue of collateral and non-collateral, but then, like I said, as the person in the business with them, I knew what led to, I could say what led to why we had up to 75% non-performing position for that. But interestingly, we are working on different strategies to see how we can change this narrative, and it's looking well.
Okay. Greg would like to know, does BOI accept insurance bonds as collateral, as is the norm in other sectors?
Yes, we do. We've accepted that, and in creative industry, we've tried also to reach out to so many insurance companies to see how we can work as partners to create insurance bond for creative businesses. Most of the insurance companies are not very amenable to projects in the creative industry. We're still engaging.
Okay, great, thank you. Then Christy says, what makes a fruitful collaboration? What do you do to enhance the collaborative process?
So what we do actually is to get information about institutions that are interested in the creative industry. We also review applications when we receive applications from institutions that are also interested in the industry. Like I said earlier, we look at the impacts, we look at the content, we want to see what the benefit looks like.
Okay. And then still on the issue of access, Runke would like to know if there's a hotline for further information. How accessible are your officials to engage with emerging filmmakers?
Our lines are available. All our lines are hotlines. Our emails, we respond to our emails within 24 hours. Unless we have challenges, the next day you get it done. So it's very well accessible. We're accessible. I'm sure if she interacts with people, they will confirm that to her. So it's very easy to reach out to us.
Okay, thank you. Then Greg is asking, why do we need to go to commercial banks after BOI has done the due diligence and approval for the loan? Can BOI not manage the disbursements directly?
We don't operate account opening in BOI as a development finance institution. And that fund must be transferred to a particular account. BOI, we don't manage our funds in-house or through CBN. We have accounts with most of the commercial banks. So if we have to disburse, we must disburse to your accounts with your commercial bankers.
Right. That makes sense. Now, I have a question here from George. He is taking us beyond our field of operations here. George is asking something about agriculture. It's not, but let me throw the question.
That's okay.
You,
that's okay. It's one of the groups in the bank of English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, George says, hello, everyone. I am joining for the first time from Austria. Please, is there a provision from BOI to develop organic fertilizer agriculture? I am interested in innovative ideas in improving agriculture in the South and to encourage and otherwise. For example, as a prospective chemist, can BOI invest in the project of converting CO2 to alcohol, then to fuel?
That is our major focus. BOI can do that. Please give him my email address. I'll take it up from there and introduce him to the right group to work with him. It is what BOI has been doing, and we've supported businesses in that area.
Fantastic. We'll do that then. Right. Then Anthony is asking, is profit coming from content firms or from other services or products such as distribution?
First of all, I only talk as a bank. If you pay, once I have my loan fully liquidated, that means it's profitable. So the distribution companies make their own profit. Producers, when they produce, they make their own profit. If we had those that had fully liquidated the loan we gave to them in BOI for content production, they could also answer this question to let us know how much they made from it.
Okay. Then I have a question from Greg, who says, thank you for the clarification that insurance bonds are acceptable. So please elaborate on the next steps once one can be obtained, and also let us know if there are any insurance firms you have worked with in the past.
Like I said, for insurance bonds for creative industry, we've not been able to get one. Insurance companies are not interested in creative industry business for now.
Yeah.
So it would be good for him to approach any of the insurance companies and see if they will be willing to give insurance bond. If they're willing, then we can take it off from there.
Okay, well, let me take you a little bit beyond the film industry to the wider entertainment space. In a previous conversation that we held with you, you spoke about the plans to build an arena, an entertainment arena. I don't know, is that still on? Is this something that the BOI is still pursuing actively to create spaces for entertainment or for films?
Yes, it's still on. I have approval already for the applicants. The loan has been approved. We're working on disbursements for now. So it's something we're interested in. It's one of the segments within the creative industry based on the mapping we did. So it's something very dear to us. We're working on it. Presently, I'm also discussing with a prospect that is also looking at building arena in another side of Lagos, not in the island, but in the mainland.
Okay. Then still in this space of building structures, I know that part of the funds you have disbursed have been towards the construction of cinema houses. Can you tell us what your experience has been on that?
Cinema houses?
No, so I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that a bit. Not just cinema houses now, but also other aspects of distribution. I know that that aspect of the distribution structure, you have been involved in terms of giving loans to persons who are focusing on distribution now, not content. What has the experience been like?
It's been very interesting because most of the companies, we now have a second application or third applications from them. So it's been an interesting one. Most of the companies have fully liquidated the first loan. The second loan given to them fully liquidated, and some of them are coming for a third time. So I'll say in summary, we've had 100% performing position from that segment.
Okay, which one can read has been very positive for the industry because distribution is key. It's a rather exhibition. I would be saying more of exhibition really than distribution. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. That's very good news to hear. Then I have a question from Christy. Christy would like to know, is it possible to get a loan from BOI to support poultry farming? And what is the criteria?
Yeah, for processing, yes. For criteria, please give Christy my email address and I'll send all the information to Christy.
Okay.
It's still in line with having a registered company, having a business plan, letting us know what you need the funding for.
Okay. That's very good to know. Now, this is to take us a little bit beyond the film industry, but it's still very much in this segment that within the group that you deal with, because yours is the creative industries group. And within this group, you have 14 subsectors that you deal with. Now, you have told us quite a bit about what you have done for the film industry. Can you tell us also something of what is going with the other 13 subsectors? How is fashion, for instance? That is an area that, well, Lagos, for instance, is referred to as a capital, or well, people are beginning to refer to it as a capital as a fashion capital, and quite a bit is happening. But in terms of structures, I don't know how much is the bank doing or involved in building structures in this and other subsectors?
It depends on what you mean by structure, but supporting projects, yes, we've done a lot in that line of fashion. And most of the projects we've supported are doing well. And interestingly, BOI handled a lot of projects when we were overseeing AGOA businesses in Nigeria. And we're able to do a lot of capacity building for those in the fashion industry. We're able to also create market visibility for them when we took them out to London Olympics and other market outlets. So we've done a lot in that space. And we have a special product for those in the fashion industry with interest rate of about, I think it's 5% interest rates to support those in the industry. Yes.
Okay. Then, from your position as a finance person, this is now away, really, this is really more like advice, away from what BOI does. Because fine, it's really now to explore what other avenues exist for a filmmaker to gain funding. So from your position as a finance person, what would you say are the avenues, other avenues for raising funds for the filmmaker?
I always say funding for filmmakers must be mixed model. And I mean, to break it down, there must be initial equity. That equity must not come from the filmmaker alone. The filmmaker should be able to reach out to friends, to family members, and to interested investors. We call them angel investors, to raise the initial capital needed for the production. Then another important one, which is also key, will be grants. Having access to available grants to support the production. A third one could be creating products lines that you could present to organizations. So that will come in your scripting level. What are those in your scripting level? You should be able to create opportunities of reaching out to companies so that you get the sponsorship and to support the production. Then what we call the gap aspects from the funding now should not be the loan. Loan should be the last aspect of the funding request.
It's very interesting that you say that. So, because I think generally that perhaps is where people go think of first. Alone. Now, you mentioned grants. Are there really that many opportunities for grants in Nigeria?
I don't have that information. I don't have that information handy, but that's what we can try to do to find out opportunities of getting grants. And that was actually initiated and handled through the Federal Ministry of Finance when BOI started. And we insisted that before we start giving out loans, we must have this mixed funding opportunity for those in the industry. The parts that should be handled by the producers and the parts that should be handled by federal government, then the role BOI should play. So we were able to push and obtain approval for the grant. However, we didn't manage the grant. If we had managed the grant, it should have been done differently, believe me.
Yes.
So the grants from other sources I don't have that information, and that should be actually readily available, maybe through the states,
Yes.
through art
Yes.
and culture, all these groups, but we don't have such existing now, but I don't have information in that line. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uche. I think your explanation of the various possibilities, I think it's a very useful one in terms of guiding people as to, well, what are the possibilities? Thank you very much. Now, Tony is asking, it's interesting to hear your enthusiasm to support new entertainment arenas. Does I carry out feasibility studies? We know of such an arena in Lagos, the National Theatre, and what happened with it. Where's the new motivation coming from to go big on arenas?
National Theatre is not a private entity. We are looking at private entrepreneurs, individual entrepreneurs, putting out their own equity and actually seeking for loan to support the business. The drive will not be the same. Yeah.
Right. Right. Thank you very much indeed. Now, I want to take you back to something that you mentioned well, it was really more in passing, but this is now with reference to diverting the monies that was coming in. And you mentioned something about, well, the ethical component, really. In assessing and also character, in assessing the application for a loan, do you have a way of checking for this aspect of character? So that to be sure that, yes, this person we're giving this loan to will be able to do something. Because I know that some people, for instance, have tried to push for courses. They insist that if you're going to take a loan from us, well, you have to go through a particular program, education program, and so on. So now, this is now with reference to the criteria requirement that the person be of good character, the criteria that the person have some business understanding or business background. Have you considered putting it as a requirement? This is now for the product you are planning, that you say, okay, before you go through, you apply for this loan, we would like to be sure that you have covered some of these aspects, that you know enough on some of these aspects. Because I know that in the past, people have said, well, before you apply for this loan, go through this training. Is that something BOI has ever considered?
Yeah, we've done that in the past, and it's going to be part of things we are going to also consider. In addition to this, we also insisted that you must be a member of any of the known associations or in the industry. We also requested for a reference letter from such people. Like I said, perception played a lot of role on the issue of character. They're just somehow related. And I know such people will do things differently if they have the opportunity again.
Okay, thank you. Then I have a question from another Uche, who's asking, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing to support creatives, but the visual art platforms in all the funding you provide. Is there anything BOI can do to support these organizations, because they're very key in the Nigerian art ecosystem?
Well, we've not received application. It's application based. If we don't receive any application, we can't reach out. Loan is another thing you can't advise somebody to take. You must have need for it. If you go advise, I've worked in rigs. My 1 year in rigs made me a stronger Christian, because I wanted to leave. Mostly when you go to recover loan and you see, well, everybody can cry, But when you see a lady crying in Nigeria, it's not too bad. But when you see a man crying, you understand. Like I said, my 1 year in rigs, I wouldn't want to look at rigs again. It's not my line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Uche is also asking you about grants for them.
Yeah.
Uche would like to know if, well, okay, loans on one side, but do grants exist for that they can access, visual art firms can access?
No, I don't have that information. I don't have that information. But like I said, within Bank of Industry, we review every application in terms of sponsorship. We call it some sponsorship, which is also grants. Yeah.
Then Emmanuel, although I think you have answered this question already, but I'll read it out all the same. Emmanuel says, good day. As a filmmaker in the creative industry who wants to become a producer, can I get funds from BOI to fund my first project, a film?
Yeah, it's possible. You can.
Yes, because, well, Emmanuel, I don't know if you were here when she said it, but she listed the requirements. As long as you meet the requirements, then it is possible. So it's just to know the requirements, which one can get by reaching out to the bank. Okay, well, Uche, thank you so very much. I think that was our last question, except somebody springs another question here with this sound. Thank you so much. This has truly been an enlightening session. Okay, yes, somebody has dropped the question. Sorry, let me retract. Lekon wants to know, do you work with other government agencies to check piracy, to checkmate piracy?
Yeah, we've worked closely with Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board. We've been supporting their activities, and yeah, we do.
Okay, great. And then, well, somebody earlier had asked about the criteria, whether the criteria was on the website, and you said some of it, not all of it. But Tony is now asking, why is all the criteria not on the website?
You have adequate criteria there in the website, but like I said, well, in the course of discussion, other documentation requirements could come up.
Could be required, yes, exactly.
The issue is the business. It's not why we don't have this. Let's just be looking at what we want. It's not looking at faults. I don't like that.
No, I don't think he was just trying to, he was pointing out the fault. Just a question, yes, just a question. Okay, thank you so much, Uche. I think this has truly, I have learned a lot. This has been very, very enlightening. And I hope we'll be able to invite you again once you announce these new products that you are trying to plan, or that you're planning rather. And so once they're released, I hope we can invite you to come and tell us all about them and to encourage people to tap into them. So thank you so very much, Uche. And thank you everyone for being with us this morning. For those who might want to take a second look at the interview, it will be put up on our YouTube channel subsequently. So let me wish you all a very good day. And once again, Uche, thank you so much for being with us. And we look forward to even more performing loans.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thanks indeed.
Thank you.
So look forward to being with you all again.
Yes, we certainly will invite you once the new products are out. Thank you. Okay, all the best.
Okay.
Thank you.